Hello, my cool cats and kittens, or whatever it is Kim says. We thought it would be fun for me to do. It's going so well already. For me to do the intro today. Welcome to another episode of Frustration Nation, and we're gonna dive into some pretty heavy topics today.
Yay! Chunky topics.
Hooray! There will be no shortage of opinions to express, because there's some weeks where we look at the news and we're like, another COVID show. But this week, oh boy. Alright, I am Jed, and our fearless leader, Kim.
Hey.
Kim.
Say hi, Kim.
Hi.
And Drake.
Hello.
So, Drake and I are the brothers in suffering, and Kim is our fearless leader, and normally she does this intro, which explains why when I do it, it's all completely falling apart. Let's get this show on the road.
Okay. So we're gonna this is another racism show. To be honest, I think
Let's rephrase that.
No, it's another show that
addresses and discusses racism.
That addresses and discusses discriminatory attitudes in Singapore.
In Singapore.
Yes.
Because when I say I'm going to see the fireworks show, I expect to see fireworks. So when you describe it as a racism show...
Cancelled. We're cancelled.
Yeah, but before
cancelled
we
every episode.
But yeah, I think at the top of it, I wanted to say that even though these are very serious, very heavy topics, and this is a time where horrible, horrible things are happening to people who are speaking out against systemic injustices, we still want to be able to laugh about certain things, and it's important to not laugh at the people who are disenfranchised and oppressed, but...
I'm gonna laugh at racists.
Yes, we're gonna laugh at the absurdity of the behavior of people who are definitely on the wrong side. Because it's like, this is not an ambiguous thing, but there are people who are acting like it is, and people are acting like it's so hard to tell which side is right.
Oh my god, both sides. We've got to listen to both the racists and the non-racists, and the racists are just as bad as the non-racists, because...
Yeah, look, aren't they setting things on fire?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And, the stories
That's not how dialectics works, guys.
It is not, yeah. The stories of police brutality in the US over the last week have been very, very, awful and demoralizing to read.
Mm-hmm.
There was this Twitter thread about the things that they've done which contravene the Geneva Convention, which, yes, is a war on a foreign nation's soil. But it's like, you're not playing by the rules that you would play by if you were waging war against a foreign country. And you're doing this against your own people, so it's just depressing.
America invaded America. I hope they bring democracy or something.
2020. Yeah, I hope they find the oil,
It's really like Civil War 2, and they somehow use the word boogaloo. I always thought boogaloo was just like a meme word that left tubers use a lot.
Right, so let me explain this, or I'll attempt to. So, there's a dance movie called Breaking, and then the sequel is called Breaking 2: Electric Boogaloo. So that is always cited as a ridiculous name for a sequel. So it's like, people use it, I use Die Hard 2 Die Harder, so I use something to some blank harder as like my go-to ridiculous sequel title.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what has been co-opted. That's why the second Civil War, they refer to it as a Boogaloo, because
Civil War
it's
2
the sequel.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. And it's like, but also you don't want a civil war, and the people who say that they do, they don't though. It's no good.
This reminds me of, I think I've shown you guys clips from this guy before. His name is J-Rag, and he has this song called, I Want to Die in a War, and it goes like something like, guys only want one thing, and it's disgusting, they want to die in a war.
Right, yeah, I feel like a lot of sorry, go ahead.
This was at the time, when they said like Iran and the US, it was getting really tense, and people were joking about getting drafted to the military. And
that was the beginning of 2020.
Yeah, but the song itself is actually about how a lot of young people are feeling a lot of discontent and coupled with this mass sort of like very doomer culture, you know, like you really feel like there's nothing left but to die. So you want to have your life have some sort of purpose. So they joke about dying in a war, but they're not really joking, or maybe like they actually just want to die. Okay, this is getting really very quickly.
Right, and I feel like to expand on that, this is because Americans, they have the belief that, oh, you know, we are the heroes, we're the good guys, and look what happened in World War II. But then it's a lot harder to hold on to that in the wake of Afghanistan and Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, the idea of going to die in a war, like, people feel that this is a war which goes on forever and the loss of life is not justified by the results. And of course now we look back on it and the US entered the war under false pretenses, right? Essentially the whole thing about looking for WMDs. And therefore it's a lot harder to hold on to the belief that we're the good guys, we're the heroes when that happens. But yeah, this is not what the show is supposed to be about.
Yeah, because this is all set in the other side of the world, I suppose. But it's really interesting because you've seen how what happened in America, the Black Lives Matter protests, is sort of seeping into every country on earth. Like
because of America's hegemony, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's impossible for something that happens there to happen in a vacuum.
Feels like America is the center of the universe, you know?
And they've made it that way based on both the hard power and the soft power, like the export of popular culture, yes. And in a way, like, we have been seeing Singaporeans' reaction to the Black Lives Matter protests, and how this has surfaced a lot of a reckoning that Singaporeans are looking at their behavior and they are either questioning it or attempting to make amends, or they are making justifications for their behavior. And like, I was in a Discord group with a bunch of friends and one of them said something like, a lot of people want to hear, oh, you're not that racist though, it's actually fine. And then they go, phew, I'm not racist.
You're not that racist.
Like, what you're doing is actually not that bad. Like, other people are worse. So, oh, okay, I can continue.
That's so strange.
They want to hear that so that they can continue brown-facing their cosplays.
Yeah, because both Kim and I are cosplayer adjacent. We don't actually cosplay, but a lot of our friends do. And so this has been a very big topic of discussion over the last few weeks, where there are a lot of people who are very, they're very steadfast in saying it's definitely wrong. And then there are a lot of people who are saying, actually, no, it's different cultural contexts. Why should we have to abide by the rules that the SJWs in America made for us? Oh, are you saying that I can't wear a fake tan? Are you saying X? Are you saying Y? And then there's a lot of kind of prodding at things because you want to find the window where what you do is okay. And you want to twist the definitions of it so what you do is okay. And that has been a thing where the privilege shows in that way, because a lighter skinned person who wears a darker skin color has the privilege of taking it off at the end of the day, which is not something that a naturally darker skinned person can do. And this is such a fundamental thing that I don't know why it's so hard to get.
It actually sounds a bit similar to Singaporeans who want to say the N-word and come up with so many reasons or defense justifications for why or it should be okay why they say it when
kind of like the last thing anyone wants to do is apologize. The last thing anyone wants to do is admit they're wrong. You cannot even go there. Like you cannot, you have to always be like both sides, guys. We live in a society. We live in a different one. We live in a society, but we live in a different one. We've always got to defend ourselves and defend the decision to blackface. Why? You look ridiculous. You are making yourself look like a clown, and by further perpetuating that, oh, no, this is fine, you're making yourself look even more like a clown. And
why is it so difficult to not do something? Just don't do it.
And if they've already done it, they desperately don't want to be wrong, so they try and defend themselves with the flimsiest of excuses.
Right, because it's an insult that they could be wrong about this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you keep hearing people say, if you don't know, listen.
Yeah.
Listen, talk to people who have this as part of your lived experiences. Listen to your friends who are directly affected by this, who do not have the privilege that you have. And that's, it's a different context, right? What's happening in the US is different from what's happening here, but there's so many parallels, and a lot of that is because, like Drake was saying earlier in the group chat, we're colonized. Everything is imported from the West. And there was this article, Kim, that you linked us to, which traces the history of blackface in Singapore.
Yeah, and we'll get to what sparked that discussion here, apart from the whole movement in America. We'll get to that in a bit. So,
okay,
yeah.
We'll put a pin in that. But yeah, the idea that this is a defense that people are hiding behind so much, the idea that the contexts are different, that's another thing that we want to discuss as well, because there was a statement from the Minister of Education, Minister Ong Ye Kung, and he was trying to say that the racial insensitivities, is a hard word to say, in Singapore cannot be directly compared to America's history of racial violence. And he has a point there. There were race riots in Singapore, but the wound is definitely different than the one that America has. But at the same time, like, the headlines read as, Minister says racism not that big a problem though. And it's not exactly what he said, but it's so easy to construe it as such.
It's not that big of a problem.
Not that big a problem though, spelled THO.
Okay, to get into, we gotta familiarize everyone listening to the context of this. So, to get into that, let's talk about the incident, the blackface incident. Now, this happened back in, I think, 2016. Yeah.
I want to say.
So, it's a bunch of students. They're all classmates. They're from a very prestigious school. And they're all, like, doing blackface and surrounding, like, their friend who is a minority, and they kind of, like, they're holding things like, whitening lotion, deodorant, fake cash, and a poster of, Slumdog Millionaire. And they have that, that, black sheet mask on, like, that people use for, like, whitening and stuff like that.
Right,
and it is, I guess, like, it is blackface. And, that picture was kind of, I think, dug up by somebody on Twitter. And then Alfian Saad kind of talked about it.
The playwright,
on
and he comes from this same school. Yeah,
on Facebook, and talking about how this was a thing that happened in prestigious schools where, like, racism is still sort of a thing that all of them have to face within so-called, like, elite circles and all that. And I cannot disagree with that. Like, I have heard and seen it happen, I think, in very bro-y, like, educational scholar circles. And then...
Right, yeah, and it's like, sorry to cut in, but I just wanted to add that we have the misconception that it is only the uneducated who are racist, that racism is only a byproduct of a lack of education, that the more educated you are, the more tolerant and accepting of others you are. But Alfian Saad was trying to point out that if you're educated, then your racism takes on this level of sophistication. And it becomes this contest of who can make the wittiest racist joke.
Who can make the most racist joke, yeah. And,
our society has surpassed the need for elite schools. Time to tear them all down.
Metaphorically,
abolish. Defund elite schools.
I wanted to go to an elite school when I was younger.
We all did.
We all did.
I went to, like, my PSLE results came back. My parents didn't talk to me for 2 weeks.
Oh my god. What were they?
I did a 246, 248.
What?
What? I did 249.
Oh, well
my my dad was quite disappointed in me as well.
Oh no, yeah, my parents have since, I think they've since come around on it because they've sort of like seen the ways in which I can be much more disappointing than just that. And they're like, oh.
Right, like after you disappoint your parents enough, they'll kind of give out on you. So.
Thanks, mom and dad, for supporting me as disappointing as I am. But yeah, it's a thing, right?
Because this is the thing about the people who this particular school, it's really like.
Why are we not saying the school's name?
Everybody knows what school it is. It's
RI,
yeah.
RI, right?
RJC,
Is it
RJC.
Oh, Drake!
It's RI, right?
RJC, because it's after
they're all the same to me.
JC,
Right, because RI is, I think, like the umbrella,
school.
right? Yeah.
Oh.
RI is the boys' school.
So RJC.
Mm-hmm. And so, the people who go there, right, in this country, they're seen as, wow, the top big brains of the society,
This is the number one thing you want.
Yeah.
And the number one thing your parents want for you as a child.
Yeah,
is
you've
to go to
ascended
either this
the
or
ranks of Singapore,
or maybe the second place school.
Yeah. And who's first place?
RJ is first place and then Hwa Chong is second place.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my understanding of it.
I have no idea. I don't keep up anymore.
And Hwa Chong is, of course, very much Chinese.
Very Chinese, yeah.
Yes.
Which is another issue.
Yeah, there were discussions about how the existence of SAP schools, the existence of so-called elite schools that reward Chinese, those who perform better in Chinese, and then kind of segregate them away from students of other races. That's another thing that's endemic in the Singapore education system. But yeah, let's return to this particular black-facing thing that happened in RI. And I think we are talking about this, we're not saying this is every RI student.
Yeah.
Why do we need to verify this?
We have friends from RI. That's the thing that they always say, oh no, we have a black friend, so we can say the N-word. No, now we have friends from RJC, so we can criticize the system.
I have a friend from my cohort, and she said I can name all of these people.
Yeah.
And she was talking about the shitty things that some of the people were doing besides this, and was able to say, oh, such and such a person, this thing happened with their girlfriend, etc., etc.
So
vague noise, vague.
So the thing is, this happened years ago, and it got dug up, and
during a time when people are especially aware or sensitive, or the incidents in America have sort of put everyone on edge and have caused people to go and look for this, and it's not necessarily.
I don't know why who looked for it. I don't know what was the purpose. Maybe someone was just Insta stalking one of the people tagged, and then they were like, "Oh, what's this?" But the thought that this came into their minds as an appropriate thing to do at one point, it's a bit alarming. But
as a gift, as a gesture,
as a gift, it was for the guy's birthday.
That's what Alfian Saad was pointing out as well in his post. He was look at how elaborate a production this is. And the guy for whom this was done... Your entire
class is in on it.
Right, and the guy for whom this was done, Alfian Saad was saying, you can't not play along, because then you're a bad sport.
Yeah.
You're churlish. So everybody did this thing for you, you have to stand there and smile, but can you imagine how he must have felt? And I cannot disagree with that statement in any way.
Yeah, and think about... you want to be so you kind of, in this sort of circle, you kind of want to be so intellectually ascended that nothing offends you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but later on, the students involved, they made quite good public apologies about how this was completely unacceptable, and they didn't realize back then that this was racist commentary, but then in hindsight it was very insensitive.
There's one group statement, right, that I want to read.
Mm-hmm.
So this was, this statement was issued by them collectively.
Mm-hmm.
Here, alright, we wholeheartedly and unreservedly apologize to our friend and the community. What we did was wrong and in no way justifiable. It is no excuse that we were young, immature, and ignorant. It is no excuse that we had no malicious intentions. It is no excuse that we were celebrating our friend's birthday. With our insensitive, racist, and cruel celebration, we clearly failed him instead. We are deeply sorry to our friend and to the many others whom we have caused distress. We know that our apology cannot undo years of microaggression and casual racism, but we hope it goes a small way towards making things right. Race-based banter like what we engaged in is not funny and never acceptable. Like other forms of racism, it marginalizes minorities and perpetuates discrimination. Moving forward, we commit to unlearning these behaviors and will continue to reflect on our actions. We will work harder to amplify the voices of the minorities in Singapore and educate ourselves further. Once again, we are truly sorry for what we did.
Yeah, they're gonna become ministers, that's for sure. I mean, okay, that's a good apology. I know I'm being snarky, and I know it might come across as...
But I want to talk about this, right? I want to talk about this because it ticks all the boxes, right?
Yeah.
It didn't say, I'm sorry you were offended.
This was
didn't
like...
say it was just a joke, just a prank, bro. They didn't say that. They used all the right words in the right order. But a friend who shared this, called it model answer.
Yeah, like, Jake Paul, take notes, right? You gotta break down this thing, this essay. Ooh, okay.
I was just a prank. It wasn't really looting. It's just a prank.
Yeah,
bro.
it's like, YouTube could learn from this. Everyone could learn from this. It's brilliant.
Mika
it's so
Stauffer.
beautifully written. It's so structured so well, right? So we have a group apology, and then a wholehearted apology, and then talking about how we're going to unlearn this and this cannot undo years of microaggression, and then repeating finally that they're truly sorry and they'll avoid and look out for insensitive behavior that carries racial undertones. We will do all that we can in our circles. So it's really, so well written.
And the thing is, okay, we are being snarky about this, but at the same time, we cannot pretend to have gone into each of these people's heads and, been able to empirically say how sincere or not each of them individually were. Because if I were to put money on it, I would say that some are sincere and some are not.
Yeah.
But we can't say that for some.
And that's the case with every group that does something shitty when they're younger and realizes later that, that wasn't such a good idea. I think
one person was the leader.
Uh-huh.
One person was definitely guys, here's the group project.
Yeah.
And delegated the various racist things to each of their friends.
Oh, God.
We're gonna make this the best birthday celebration for our friend whom we are definitely not being racist to in history.
Yeah, you're going to bring the Slumdog Millionaire poster? Yeah, I'm gonna print it out at
skin
Sunshine
whitening
Plaza.
cream, yeah, right?
And who's gonna be in charge of buying the black face masks?
And it's also a well-taken photo.
And on top of that, those masks are expensive.
I don't know, I'm a stinky boy.
Yeah, those masks are expensive, right? You know if you've bought facial masks. One box is $10 if it's and then each box has 5 or 4 of them. So it's an expensive project.
Yeah, and that's what Alfian was saying in his post. Is this is an elaborate production.
This is why they're in RI.
This is a commitment.
It's
right?
if you do the racist project, you gotta do it all the way through.
Gotta go all the way.
And then you do the apology, it's gotta be a model answer.
It's a model answer. And it sounds like a PR agency crafted this. It's we need to cover all our bases.
Yeah.
It's just if we say this, then someone can come back with this. Mm-hmm. So you imagine there's a blackboard where people are workshopping this. There's a room,
it's a whiteboard.
Right? It's a writer's room, a whiteboard. Yeah, sorry.
I feel like PR agencies already have this model answer stashed somewhere.
It's
just waiting for someone to fuck it up.
Right.
They probably
a noun, a verb, an apology for a racist thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's Mad Libs.
It's but the thing is we can be we can make fun of it a little bit, but it's a lot better than whatever the hell our minister said after that, Like,
That's the bar.
yeah, this is a lot better than what followed this, which is from someone else completely. So, yeah, in terms of apologies, we can't accept this apology, on behalf of anyone. That's the thing, right? Like, they
welcome
can
to 3 Chinese people talking about racism.
they can apologize, but the people that they're apologizing to may or may not accept the apology.
We don't know, and we need to say that and make that very clear. We don't know. We don't know what the intentions were. We don't know how contrite these people actually were.
Yeah, like, we make enough videos on this, and one day we're gonna have to take the model answer from here and then replace it with what we have to say now.
No,
we make
don't
enough.
curse it. Don't preemptively cancel yourself, Kim.
I will speak this into existence. Law of attraction, guys. Okay. So, I want to talk about the follow-up post to this. Ong Ye Kung's comments.
He's the Minister for Education, right?
So,
but yeah, we want to give this statement a fair shake. We want to read it in its context.
Alright, so
because that's what people are saying you're not taking it in context.
Who would like to do the honors?
Drake, go. Put on your best minister voice.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
Go to the part where we're talking about, like, the context of Singapore, Okay, so it starts off with, like, him recounting the situation of, like, a group of then RI students and about how they apologized and,
Such acts of racial insensitivity from there?
Yeah.
Okay, such acts of racial insensitivity or microaggression against the person of another race exist in every society, including Singapore. They existed in 2016 and exist today. There is heightened awareness of such acts, and the 2016 photo probably surfaced now because of what's happening in America after the George Floyd incident. I like how he calls it incident and just...
The man died after a policeman kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes incident.
I'm gonna change the word incident to murder.
The incident.
It's
The
like
George
extra
Floyd
coffee on
murder?
my shirt is an incident.
Okay,
But it's not only the George Floyd incident. Like, there was Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's not an
the
incident.
Breonna Taylor story.
She
breaks
was
my heart.
sleeping!
Yeah, she was...
Yeah.
Like, that's not an incident. That's like
Murder.
systemic
It's murder.
murder of people from across the years.
600 people have been murdered since, like, I forgot the year, 2012?
It's not good.
Yeah.
But anyway,
And
he goes on. Yeah.
Go on.
I can see many of our students of all races having strong feelings about the matter. It is good that our young are standing up for what's right and what has been a founding value we strive to uphold in Singapore.
Yeah, okay, people's, like, woke posts are a signifier of you. You've got to make this all about you.
I, the Minister of Education, have been doing such a great job.
Teaching people about racism.
But we should also be mindful that our situation is entirely different from America's, which has a painful history of slavery, a civil war, and a civil rights movement that had to struggle against racial segregation. Thrust into independence in 1965, Singapore as a
Kim, stop it!
thrust
This is serious.
as a young country was founded as a multiracial country regardless of race, language, or religion, citing the pledge, yeah? That is not to say racial differences do not exist simply by decree. Tribal instincts are part
Tribal
of human
instincts.
nature.
We'll come back to the tribal instincts.
Hence, we implemented many policies over the years and enacted laws such as the Maintenance of Villages Harmony Act and established the Presidential Council of Minority Rights to guard against systemic racism. Students should know that racially insensitive acts are not condoned. Singapore will always be a work in progress, always improving based on our founding ideals, and our system of governance is designed with them in mind. All of us have to play a part.
So what was the point of this?
Okay, so
What was the point of this?
First off, please don't puff my ass.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to say is this technically he's right, but at the same, like, the facts of what he's saying, like him saying, oh, America has XYZ, it didn't happen in Singapore, that's technically correct, but it sounds like racism is not that big a deal. That's what it sounds like he's saying. So I must caveat this by saying that's what it sounds like, at least to me. It's not
right.
the letter of what he said, but...
It's not like he's saying that racism doesn't exist. He says that racial insensitivity or microaggression exists in Singapore or blah blah blah. So like he at least he's admitting that there is some form of racism in Singapore. I just wish that he wouldn't have then kind of protected the entire thing, like covered the entire thing with laws and
no, it
reciting
sounds
our
like
pledge, because it sounds very disingenuous.
There is an element of boys will be boys to this, right?
Yeah.
There is an element of Singapore has this problem, but so does everywhere else.
Yeah.
So why is it that so big a deal?
Other
It's actually not that big a deal.
And other places have it worse than us, you know?
And that is the official line. That's the line.
Then, like, what even is the point of this post? Because, you know, he's like, it's good that our young are standing up for what's right, but we should also be mindful. And then he goes on to be like, yeah, but students should know that racially sensitive acts are not condoned because, you know, and like...
Because what this sounds like to me is it sounds like he's saying, this thing that came out is unfortunate, but the reaction to it is an overreaction. It's like, it's unfortunate that it happened. Oh well.
They apologized. They know it was a bad thing. They clearly said that this was abhorrent and this was unacceptable. So, like, is he asking them to like shorten their model answer or something, that they didn't need to go in so hard with the model answer? Like, what is he trying to do with this statement?
This is aimed at the reaction. I think this is aimed at the overall reaction, right?
Like, it's just really to say that we don't have it as bad as America. That is his point. That is his whole point.
Yeah, and these are the reasons why there's not a one-to-one comparison, which I agree. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but that's not what people are saying, though. People are not saying that the standard is the same as the standard in America.
May I remind him that we currently have an explosion of COVID cases in foreign worker dormitories, and people in the comments section are advocating for systemic keep it like the system kind of keeping them in somewhere that is not really fit for a human to stay, like things like that.
Oh yeah, there was one comment that was, can we just house them underground?
Yeah, exactly. Like, people are saying that in Singapore, and if you're gonna come here and tell me that, you know, racism isn't that bad, it definitely isn't on the level of brutality America is facing, but it is a pretty bad thing in Singapore, and to pretend otherwise and to ask people to not overreact is disingenuous, I think. It's not an accurate reading of reality.
I mean, it's like we kind of pride ourselves in this racial harmony thing, that we ignore or deny whenever racial minorities try to sound out injustices under the guise of we shouldn't talk about this kind of stuff. We are a racial harmonious country. Everybody should be happy about blah 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 blah. So we kind of deny their experience. So it kind of explains this whole like when our not entire history, when we are a country founded by this principle and this behavior, it's very easy for people to just be casually racist or be insensitive or say shitty things or do shitty things and still believe that they are not being racist because they've just been taught to deny that racism exists. So it's, in a way, it's kind of systemic.
Yeah.
The way I see it.
Yeah, like that's the official line. And the thing that we're trying to say is that we're not saying hold Singapore to the same standards that America is held to or whatever. We're trying to say move the needle. like the tolerance or the acceptance of racist behavior, the threshold is clearly still a bit too low. But when this is voiced out, when this sentiment is put out in the open, and when it's voiced by people of minorities, it's met with dismissal, like what Drake said. It's met with no, not really.
Exactly, like going back to what happened last year with Pretty Please, and the article about blackface in Singapore was written at the time in response to what happened back then. When her video, the rap, came out, a lot of people thought that her reaction was disproportionate to the literal ad in blackface. But it wasn't only that advertisement, you know. It was years of local media, blackfacing in Nutella or something, and...
Yeah, I think that was that Wa Banana? It was one of the local YouTube. I remember this at the time. It was one of the local YouTube sketch comedy groups, and they were trying to depict, I think it was 10 types of people you meet at a beach. And then they were trying to depict foreign workers.
Yeah.
Oh, gee. Oh, my God.
So it was Chinese people smeared in Nutella, and then they played Bhangra music over it.
And then there was a 2012 UOB Bollywood themed party, where it was like a lot of Chinese people, basically blackfacing themselves and wearing, so-called Indian costumes, I suppose.
I hate this.
Yeah, this is recent, and we have a long history of there were minstrel sort of performances.
Black and white minstrel shows.
Yeah,
that is an artifact of American entertainment. Like literally, white people dress up as black people because the idea of black people was funny to them during slavery and everything.
So it's not like this is a new thing. It's not like the offensiveness is a new thing, you know.
Right, and the example that jumps out to me was the one from 2016, which is it was a MediaCorp show, or I think a toggle show called I Want to Be a Star. And I think it's supposed to be like a drama series set in the entertainment industry in Singapore. And they had, if I'm not wrong, the plot line is an African man was cast in the role, but he can't make it in the last minute. So a Chinese guy puts on blackface and a curly wig. This was 2016. This is not ancient history.
Yeah.
Because black and white minstrel shows, that's the 1920s and 30s, right? This is not.
UOB party was 2012.
And 12. And UOB that's an organization that should know better, right?
Yeah, they're a bank.
It's just like with RIs, that this is an organization, this is an institution that should know better.
Yeah.
So that's why we talk about trying to raise the bar, trying to raise the threshold, trying to move the needle, and trying to say that your window for what is acceptable, that should change.
Yeah, But
this is something that's controversial.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, people say that, we're being too sensitive, right? You know, things like super sexist ads where women were to become submissive and make great coffee for their husbands, and otherwise they'd get beaten or their husbands would cheat on them. Those ads were like acceptable in like the 60s and the 50s, but they wouldn't be acceptable now because the needle has moved, right?
Yeah, it's
sure,
just like
there's
those
sexist ads out there, but like that kind of egregious sexism that usually doesn't happen anymore.
We look at it the same way as we look at the ads from the 50s that are 9 out of 10 doctors choose this brand of cigarettes.
So, like why can't we also move the needle on this?
On that, yeah. And what is the most important thing? The most important thing is to listen, and the most important thing is when someone tells you this is not okay, your first reaction should not be, actually it is.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts from. It's a hard thing because of how this has been institutionalized, and it's a hard thing because you don't want to admit that you are wrong.
Yeah.
But it's not a hard thing objectively to do, and it starts from there, right? And what you were saying is so true, that the backlash to Preeti and Subhasa's response to the blackface ad, that is true in brownface, that was so much stronger than the response to the ad itself.
Which I think they've got it completely flipped. Like, there's no reasonable way. I feel like up till now I'm still confused about how a bunch of executives gathered in a room and decided we're gonna hire Dennis Chu 4 times, and
yes, this is fine. So okay, let me
And they called her video racist. I remember
right,
this.
yeah. Because it was based on Iggy Azalea, right? And her refrain was Chinese people always fucking it up. And therefore that was taken to be racist. When at the end, there is a stinger at the end of the video, there's a scene where Pretty and Suba sit down and they say, actually, it's not all Chinese people, you must remember this. And they have like the standard disclaimer.
yeah, and the thing is like, the shitty thing is that we still have to add that disclaimer, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but people just ignored that it existed. and the thing is, what is the response to this? What is the backlash? The backlash is saying you have no right to be angry. This thing that angers you is actually not that bad. It's not worth getting angry about. So sit down, shut up, and know your place. That's what is implied in this backlash. So we're just sort of like telling the people who would be angry about it how not to be angry about it, when in the first place it wouldn't directly affect you, and that's called privilege.
I think that, I mean, now that you bring it up, I think that is the kind of like the thing that Ong Ye Kung's post is trying to accomplish, like a balm to sort of soothe the wound that he perceives that all these sensitive strawberries are feeling about.
Yeah, stop fighting.
Yeah, snowflakes, stop fighting. It's all right in Singapore.
Yeah, it's really not that bad.
It's not that deep, guys. Yeah, it's not that deep, guys. But in like a letter.
Because I don't want people to be dying because of their skin color. And that is not a thing that happens on a mass scale in Singapore.
No.
But that doesn't mean that just because that does not happen, there is no racism in Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
Like if we can do better, then why not fucking do better?
Yeah. I mean, they were willing to apologize and recognize the gravity and the history of like their actions. So why not, they set this standard by apologizing. Why not carry forth with that? Why do we have to retract with like, hey, we don't have the same problems in Singapore,
I think my main issue with his statement is that I wish that he had at least acknowledged that we are not good at acknowledging. I'm going to use this word so many times. Acknowledging. We are not good at acknowledging racism that exists in Singapore.
But I feel like the thing is, if you admit that there's something wrong with the way things are going from the top down, and you kind of admit the government's culpability in that. So that's a line that they can't take.
Yeah, I guess he couldn't really say much anyway.
Right, yeah, he was sort of, because the official line is that everything's going pretty well. And everything's going pretty well because of the way things are and the way things always have been. And at one time, Singapore was very divided and everyone was fighting each other. But now it's different. Everyone gets along really well. And this is the line, this is what we are told, but it's not what we see. And there's a dissonance between that certain, people can't admit.
I think
like the thing is like telling, like using propaganda might have worked in the past, but nowadays people are smarter. Like the internet exists, like we can see when you are lying to us. So why not just tell us straight that, oh, okay, I know that this is a problem. I understand that people are angry about this. I acknowledge it, and this is what we're gonna do to help make it better. Like don't deny it and say nothing is wrong for political points, because we especially the young people see through your bullshit.
Yeah, and the thing about this is that this is not a problem that solely happens with the government. I feel that any authority wants to be in a position to say that we have made sure things have gone well so far. And to admit that things are not as good as they could be would be to admit that there is a problem in the way things have been run, and we can't have that. So that's where it comes from. And like I'm going to do the thing that Ong Ye Kuk has told us not to do, which is to compare ourselves to America. But what you're seeing right now in America is a reckoning with systems of power. Systems of power and institutions that have historically been oppressive, but that are supported in so many ways. And that's why you're hearing this thing about defunding the police. And it's something that to us sounds insane, because our conception is that the police are there to protect you and the police are there to keep order. But if you look at the history of policing in America, you sort of see why everything has reached this kind of critical mass. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that saying we were wrong in XYZ or we can do better in XYZ doesn't mean that you're wrong in everything. And doesn't mean that you have fumbled the ball in everything. And honestly, like, I'll say this, like, I think that there are a lot of things that the Singapore government has accomplished that I am grateful for, sometimes begrudgingly so. But, but the thing is, whenever we hear a statement in the wake of an event like this, it always sounds like this. And we want to hear something different because we know what the reality is like. And therefore, even though the facts are objectively correct, even though what Minister Ong was saying about how we are not America and we do not have a history of slavery or a history of civil war, civil rights movement, etc., etc.
Yeah, like
what it reads
technically
as
he's not saying anything wrong.
Yeah, but what it reads as is saying that everything's fine, nothing to see here.
Yeah, I think the official party line is to always, like, kind of avoid stoking racial tensions.
Yeah.
So,
like, don't
like,
rock the boat.
The thing about tensions, right? If people are treated unequally and one group is angry that they've been treated unequally, just because they're allowed to speak, it doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean that letting them speak will immediately turn into, like, what, race riots, right? Like, letting them speak will allow them to, like, voice their grievances and point out the ways in which, like, we've systemically kind of, like, suppressed them. And, they have a right to be angry if the system has fucked them over.
Yeah, if you keep silencing them and oppressing them, then you should worry about riots and shit.
Yeah, because the thing about...
Now, riots won't happen in Singapore. That's the thing. They want to keep it that way. Because...
Yeah, and the thing about, like, the fear that once you give a platform to people to talk about the ways in which they have been treated unequally, the next step is riots. Means that they can't conceive of a Singapore in which this can be discussed openly and the discussions do not rise to violence. That world doesn't exist for them. But I think that world exists.
Yeah, I want to believe that that world exists because apparently this world did not exist according to, like, Lee Kuan Yew, who said a whole host of really, really, really racist stuff. Like, really just, like some of the, like, it's quite, it's scary. It's kind of like the kind of stuff that you'll see, that you'll see on, like weird forums on 4chan, you know? It's really that level of, I'm gonna get into trouble one of these days. It's really that level of, like, discriminatory. It's not. And the thing is, like, I don't know if that was common for his time.
I guess it was.
Yeah. Winston Churchill was racist.
Yes.
Right, yeah, and people consider Winston Churchill a great man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Winston Churchill was responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of people in the Bengal famine. And he was a massive racist, but that was just par for the course, yeah. For his like time. But right. I think he was probably a bit worse than most of them. And that, I don't know about, like, Lee Kuan Yew as well, because, like, some of the things that I've seen him say are so strikingly scary, I suppose, that, like, I can't conceive of that being, like, acceptable even for his time. But the thing is, like, you can't really, I wouldn't know unless I was born during that era, right?
Right, yeah. And, like, please, this is not, I'm just trying to phrase things in such a way that we don't get into trouble, but we are not saying things like this impulsively.
Mm-hmm.
This is the result of us thinking about it. And it's the result of us trying to listen.
And the thing is, like, with that, okay, like, our systems were set up and our ways of dealing with things were set up in a time when that sort of discourse was acceptable to the public. So naturally, remnants of that sort of discrimination would have remained in the system. That is just how systems work. Like,
yeah, and I have seen people try to say that there is no such thing as systemic racism in Singapore. That there are no, but there are though.
Mm-hmm. That's all we can say. There are though with the THO.
THO. Yeah, and I have a friend who compiled this list of personal experiences and experiences that he's like secondhand experiences, and I want to read like a few examples from them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is going to be stuff that is very aggravating, but you just realize like the kind of environment that exists for this to be so casually said out loud. So, this is from my friend Ryan, and he says, at a lecture on modern mythology, he heard someone say, "You speak well for an Indian." He was the lecturer. As a consultant for a media employment firm, we don't hire Indians because we have female staff. I'm seated beside the employment. We don't hire Indians because we have female staff.
What the fuck?
I'm seated beside the employment assessor saying this to the Indian interview at a talk at Scape. Oh, it's nice to see an Indian man who agrees about feminism.
Oh no.
Oh,
I was
God.
one of at least 3 or 4 other Indian males. At a job interview for advertising. We know it's normal for you all, but do you day drink or drink on weekdays?
Oh,
I said I barely drank to begin with, so they asked if I was in AA.
What the fuck?
At the casting review, we already have one Indian. We need to represent Singapore. It was the casting for a fast food ad with at least 20 non-speaking roles.
20 people.
Yeah.
Lord.
About some guy. He's so smart because he's half Chinese. Job interview at Giordano in 2005. We need you to speak Chinese because our customers mostly speak Chinese.
At Giordano.
At Giordano in 2005. On languages in the MRT, Northeast Line and Downtown Line need announcements in Chinese because they go through Chinatown. They both also go through Little India.
Yeah.
And some love for our Malay friends. Also at a casting review, not even the same company. It's just not believable. Someone suggested a very popular Malay actor for the role of CEO.
What?
Oh.
At an agency that funds comics. Can your superhero not be Malay? It will be more appropriate if he's Chinese.
Why
This one
appropriate?
came from an Indian. Same agency, same person. A Chinese character will represent the country better. The country's anthem is literally in Malay. So the guy who wrote this list is a comic book writer, and he wrote a Malay Singaporean superhero, Crimson Star. Okay, so same agency, different person. It's because he is very highly educated. You seem to be quite racist against Chinese. I'm
Why?
Indian, the character in question is Malay. So, look, a highly educated Malay character is racist against Chinese, according to this person. At another hiring firm, we don't hire Malays because we are a task-oriented company.
Oh my
Said to a Filipino applicant. Speaking of Filipinos, if you get the job, please don't sing too loudly. Same person as before, upon being told the interviewee was not Malay, but Filipino. But no, racism isn't systemic in Singapore, so yeah, that's Ryan's post. Shout out to Ryan, he also goes by Aravind.
Like, we all have heard at least one of these stories, like, multiple times from different people.
Like,
And yeah, it's just, it's so deep-rooted in us that it seems normal unless we are paying attention. Like it's like, even like as you said, like some of these stuff are said by minorities.
Yeah.
Like, because it's so normalized that it seems fine and normal when okay, yeah, sorry. Anyway, Kim, you were gonna say something.
okay, so culturally, I was brought up very Chinese, I suppose. But appearance-wise, I think if you like like I think I've mentioned before, if you've seen me in person, the people who tend to read me as not Chinese always tend to be Chinese people, and they'll say stuff in Chinese about me that they think that I cannot understand.
Don't understand. Yeah. They
Yeah.
really don't understand.
And it's some very dank stuff, like the waiting for this damn insert minority here to get out of the shop, you know, like when I go into some shops in like Bugis Street upstairs.
For no reason.
Yeah, they'll like talk to their other friends.
Not
and
because
say,
you like set the shop on fire or something. They
yeah,
just
exactly.
didn't like that you were
I
there.
went in there and then I was trying to look at some clothes and they were like, oh, 我等这个死马来人出去先我才跟你讲, you know. And
yeah, I'm
things,
waiting for this fucking Malay to leave the shop.
Yeah,
and then
or
we'll
like
talk about
things
it.
like well, I think people have mistaken me for my mom's maid several times, and then upon learning that I'm my mom's daughter, they're kind of like, why is your daughter so dark? Why does your daughter look
The first
like
instinct
that?
is not, I'm sorry for my microaggression.
Yeah, the thing is like, why does your daughter look like that? And I like, look like
it's
what?
wrong. It's wrong for you to look the way you look. It is some kind of insult.
Yeah, like that is apparently an insult, and they're like so concerned with my mom, like what went wrong here?
This great misfortune has been visited upon you that your daughter has darker
that
skin.
your
than you normally
daughter
would see.
does not look Chinese, and that's just an absolute
It's the worst.
absolute fucking tragedy, apparently, to some of these people. Because I mean, like, I think the reason why they probably pity me so much is because they know how horribly some of them treat minorities. So
So in being not self-aware, they are being self-aware.
yeah.
It's beautiful. It's
gorgeous.
It's poetry. Yeah.
So it's not, and the thing is like, half indigenous Sarawakian, and even back home, even within other communities, like there's different sorts of like racial and tensions and dynamics at play, which I won't go into today because it's a lot to talk about. But
Yeah, this isn't knot.
really. This doesn't really even track in Singapore because a lot of people here don't even know that an East Malaysia exists. So, we can't really even talk about that because there is the assumption that it's just Malaysia, then you skip East Malaysia, and immediately if you're from East Malaysia, you're Indonesian, which is like very strange, but we won't go there today.
Yeah.
So
it makes you feel like you're not being seen.
yeah, I don't exist basically.
Yeah. It's like if a map left off an entire country on the map.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, to be honest, being sort of racially ambiguous shouldn't be a bad thing, you know? It shouldn't be something that, these Chinese people look at it and they're like, I can't wait for this person to get out of my damn shop. I can hear you. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I suspect, like, a lot of people from minority races out there probably do understand what they're saying, because a lot of us have, and that's the sad thing, right? Like, I've heard of a lot of people, instead of like taking their mother tongue, they choose to take Chinese instead because apparently it's better to know how to do that in the workplace. But turns out it's really just an excuse for racist employees to filter out people of color. Yeah. So, yeah. Taking those 7 years of 作文 didn't really help because the problem is systemic and not an individual thing that you can solve by, like, I don't know, learning another language, which is, I guess that's an illustration of why this problem is not a thing with individuals, you know. It's like that cogs in the machine working with each other to...
Yeah, and that's what we mean when we say systemic.
Mm-hmm.
Because people can say Singapore doesn't have a history of slavery though. And like their thought process ends there.
Mm. So the next thing we have on the list is kind of dark and kind of related to this, but I don't even know if it's like really that related, but some edgelord from Temasek Poly got arrested after posting about violent fantasies involving gunning down Muslims on their Instagram. So
Yeah, this was in an Insta story.
yeah, this was from an Insta story.
He's
And
19 years old.
I do not understand where he got these ideas from, honestly. Like, I don't know why. Like, because sometimes, right, someone posts something whack, something a bit incel-like, and then you're like, okay, I think I can about guess which forums of 4chan he frequents, right? But this one, I've never heard this stuff before. Like, I've never, in my years of spending too much time online, like, I've never seen this particular, except on very, very, like, right-wing, I suppose, like, right-wing, like, those immigration policy
it
obsessed
sounds like
people.
the Mosque Shooters Manifesto, the Christchurch
Yeah,
Mosque
I was
Shooter.
gonna mention.
Right?
It sounds, it's like the right wing
How do we get there?
radicalization kind of a message, you know?
Yeah, but this guy is a bit special because he's also against like Christians to an extent, but it seems to be involving Muslims more because usually, like, I've always heard that sort of rhetoric like from like those Breitbart kinds of people, like those Paul Joseph Watson watching nut jobs, you know, like those people who believe in that kind of great replacement conspiracy theory type thing. I've never.
Oh yeah, people who cite Camp of the Saints as like a go-to example.
Yeah. Like,
that is a big ass red flag, okay? If anybody brings up Camp of the Saints.
I don't know what that is.
Camp of the Saints is a novel, I think it's a French novel, and it's about how Indian refugees hijack a ship and take the ship to France and take over France.
Oh, that's
And
ridiculous.
they are led by a leader who is called the Turd Eater, the Shit Eater. Like, that is the leader of the Indian refugees.
That does not sound very savory.
So this is a thing that Steve Bannon cites a lot, hence Breitbart. So when you said Breitbart, like, that brought to mind people who cite Camp of the Saints. And I think there's a video that either Jose or Big Joel did about it recently that goes into great detail about why this is a book that what role this played in fueling the Great Replacement theory and so on.
It just the comments on there were like, I'm not gonna read them out, but it just feels quite. I'm glad that people took action against him. And the thing is, like, okay, you know, stuff like the whole like Pretty Please and that rap stuff, I think that the action taken and that against that is too far. I think that this is an example of how like deplatforming and shutting things down can be a good thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously has a problem.
Yeah.
This guy, the guy from Temasek Poly.
The problem isn't like the dream that he had. Like, the problem wasn't that he had that dream. The problem was him being like, oh, it felt great.
Yeah, that he thought this was something worth celebrating on an Insta story and
like
worth
probably
sharing
a
with
public
the world.
Instagram and people screen grabbing it.
Because people, if you say something like this, people will notice it. You cannot say something like this and expect it to just slip under the radar and you continue with the rest of your day, right? And the thing is, like, his last paragraph is that rush of enjoyment I felt every shot is equal to that of when I hit a new squat bench or deadlift PR.
Why would you give Jim Rose this reputation? And
yeah, exactly.
And then he had that whole I'm gonna use a VPN to.
Right, no, it's interesting because what he was saying earlier, this is something that I do want to talk about. Like, he is an edgy 80s boy, so he's trying to say, like, he talks about, he talks against both Islam and Christianity.
Yeah.
But this fantasy he had was not about shooting Christians.
No, it was about shooting people who did not look like
Did not
him.
look Chinese.
Yeah, they did not look Chinese.
Right, because in the dream, he describes in the dream every other Chinese running past away from me.
Yeah.
And then we can't read the rest of it out loud because then YouTube will deplatform us.
Yeah, and it's really awful and
he's so, like, it sounds giddy. It sounds excited. This is not someone whom you should just let walk around out there.
Yeah, this is not like somebody making like a few dumb, insensitive jokes like to their friends. This is actual hatred, or like this is a celebration of bigotry, right?
Right. This is like excited hate speech, and there is. I mean, I can't wait. I mean, I say that, but I can't wait for someone to say, actually, this is not that bad. Because, you know someone's gonna say it.
Like, what justification can they make for this?
Someone said that he's just trying to get clout.
Right, and then the devil's advocate is, but he won't be able to carry this out because he can't get a gun in Singapore. So actually, it's not a big deal.
Fuck off.
But it makes sense, right? Someone might say that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just spitballing. But yeah, I've not seen anyone say that yet, thankfully. But
oh, I thought you were saying somebody said that. I didn't mean to tell you to fuck off.
No, I like you told the hypothetical person that would have said that to fuck off, right? Yeah, and I'm looking at the New Paper's article about this, and it has an interview with a student who has a Malay name and said, while he was not very offended, such comments may cause the Muslim community to feel unsafe. And this is the understatement of the year. And I also admire this person for not feeling very offended because, oh my god, he said he was going to kill all of you.
I felt scared reading this.
Right, yeah. So, this person's restrained. But yeah, I mean, this is like, where did we have this? We had, we did have an, like, was there a statement from a minister about this? Okay, there's an NMP Lim Sun Sun, describing the comments as grossly discriminatory and bigoted. So okay, that's that.
I mean, this was quite clear cut, lah.
Yeah, this one is pretty obvious. I'm not laughing because it's funny, but I'm laughing at like, it's so absurd that someone would consider this to be okay.
I mean, like, I'm on Reddit right now, and there's like, apparently he was already getting like flack before because he called like, a person who was a victim of sexual assault, they called them like a loser compared to his girlfriend who took it like a champ when they first had sex when she was 16.
Is he saying that he raped his girlfriend?
Gross.
I don't know.
Because that's what it sounds like.
It's like all these things just, someone said that he sounds like an incel domestic terrorist self-radicalized by some shitty subreddits, you know?
Yeah.
The pipeline.
Yeah, the pipeline.
The P-word pipeline.
The P-word. I don't think... Oh, by the way, PewDiePie has been... I guess, like, he's been quite vocal about the Black Lives Matter thing. But the thing is, like, you know, if he wasn't vocal, people would probably cancel him for it because... because he's been really a bit suspicious.
But the thing is, both things can be true. He can have a past of extremely racist behavior, and also, in this case, stand behind this movement.
Yeah.
Both things can be true. So, does this mean that PewDiePie has changed? I don't know. I'm not him. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that it erases past behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying this as someone who actually doesn't really have many opinions about PewDiePie. It's just that there are certain things that he has done, which, from my point of view, are pretty indefensible. But then I say this as someone who is not a stan, not a hater. So, yeah, he exists.
I don't know. I hope someone comes to settle him, and I don't know.
Him as in this guy. The guy who wrote
this
thing.
guy.
Yeah.
The
because, okay, Lord knows
really
this
does
is
not sound
the,
well.
This is not the only person harboring these thoughts in Singapore.
Yeah, probably not. So many of us spending so much time on Reddit.
But most people wouldn't be, like, writing vivid descriptions of their murder dream. Their racially motivated murder dream. And celebrating it and putting it on Instagram. So that's where the concern lies.
I think that's also partially just this misplaced bravado, like trying to make yourself look like a hard ass on the internet by saying scary things.
It's like the, what was it? The SEAL team copy pasta.
Yeah.
You know that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, or like, you know how Amos Yee like defended pedophilia, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it was an edgy stunt that went way too far.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately what it sounds like. It sounds like he wants to be a lightning rod and he wants to stir shit. But there should be consequences for talk this. And yeah, I'm gonna read the Temasek Poly tweet. TP is aware of and takes a very serious view on the offensive comments made by a student on social media. The student in question has taken down the posts. Yay! Woohoo! Okay, TP is investigating the incident and will not hesitate to mete out the necessary disciplinary action. So, yeah. I mean, alright, but let's play judge. Would you guys expel him if you were the principal of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is grounds for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. I would be scared to let him in the same school
I would
as
be scared
other
to-
people.
Yeah,
like
I
other
would be
human
scared for
beings.
my students, honestly. And he's in design, architecture. I don't want racist people to be our future architects
and not
or
only
doctors
racist, but like
or
violent
ministers.
tendencies.
Exactly. So, it's like, I mean, a lot of people are probably going to say, that's too extreme, he's young, has a future, blah, blah, blah. But, if he cared about his future, he wouldn't have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, I care more about the future of other people.
Yeah, that's the thing. I care about.
I'd
the
be
future of people
too
who
scared
may
to
be
let
a
him out
victim
in
of-
public where
Sorry.
minorities exist,
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is what a week for this to happen. It's like all the stuff that's happened this week is like cherry on top of the shit Sunday.
Yeah, I found
a lot of
I
people
found a
have-
Twitter
yeah,
thread
sorry.
with more screenshots of his stuff.
Uh,
And
Would you like to put it in the Discord thing? Okay,
yeah,
you
I
have
put it
here.
in Discord,
Yes.
and
All right, there we
it's
go.
horrible, and I feel like okay, I don't want to read all of this because
No, I
it's
don't want
quite,
to either. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not gonna go too deeply into this because I feel like he wants us to be shocked and horrified
Yeah,
and
he
to
wants to
pour
be
over every
held up as,
detail.
like,
And we've
yeah.
already probably hopefully he never hears this video, but yeah. He probably wants us to do that, so we're not gonna say his name, and we're not gonna read any more of his disgusting messages.
I don't feel shocked or horrified. I just kind of feel sorry.
Anyone who's had to interact with this guy,
Yeah, and
Right. Yeah.
it's really sad.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and of course the appropriate anger, but it's just mostly sad
Yeah.
for this man.
It's mad. Case. What a week for him to say it as well. No, I think he said it because it was like,
He knew that this was the moment when.
yeah, he wanted attention. So he's got it. He's got attention from Internal Security Department. So
Yeah.
Congratulations, you did it.
congrats, you did it.
And I
you
think
did
it
it.
has like so one of these tweets in this Twitter thread is like it has his response to somebody who tried to educate him about sexual harassment and sent a very, very polite, like courteous message. And he begins his reply with, "Oh, hey, look, a social justice warrior that I will care very little about."
Oh,
So-
okay. Yeah, so we know where he got that
That's-
from.
Yeah. And the thing is, when people use language like that, when people say SJW, when people say snowflake kind of derisively, we're not saying that everyone who uses that language is necessarily like this, but this behavior and this thinking exists on a spectrum. And this, like, the desire to elevate yourself to the status of I'm edgy and cool, and I can say whatever the hell I want and offend as many people as I want, is going to have consequences.
Yeah. I'm gonna be shutting down any more discussion about this guy for now here.
Yeah, I think we've said what we need to say, and it's just like what Kim was saying is that it was jarring and disorienting to hear that this is something that happens in Singapore.
Mm-hmm. Although I have met, I'm gonna try and keep this as like private as possible.
Yeah.
We have seen people kind of like this, but we've never seen anyone like take it so publicly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. to such
Actually, I
a
want to take
vicious
back what I
depth.
said about being horrified. I was horrified, so
Yeah.
I just didn't want to give it to him. But I
Right,
was
yeah.
horrified.
Yeah. And,
So-
that's all there is to say about that.
That's all there is to say about it. The last two things we have on the agenda that I wrote here are tracker backlash, and I would also like to talk about people throwing around the accusations of doing things for woke points.
Yeah.
But okay, the tracker backlash, I don't, I'm so numb to
Right,
the
yeah.
idea of being tracked by the government that it just track. I don't.
and also
This is my problem.
right.
It's
and,
my
and it-
toxic trait.
And but the idea behind this is that it's not tracking your location. It's tracking in case you came into contact with somebody else. It is the same mechanic as the Tan Tan dating app.
That's so cute, but
I get so
not
many
that
ads
cute.
for that.
That's so cute, but
Never heard
not
of that.
really.
Okay,
It's
I
a
mean-
dating app where it's like if you walk past somebody who also has the app or who has liked you, it will like give you an alert.
Mhm.
oh,
So I think that's the idea.
I mean, that
behind
sounds
it. Like,
familiar.
yeah, you've probably seen a YouTube ad or two which has like some attractive guy walking past an attractive girl, and then their phone beeps and then they look at
And
their
they're
app.
like, they turn around, they're like, oh, hi.
Yeah, and then it's
Let's
the
go
logo is
running
like a
in
cartoon
this
animal
park,
or something.
like a
It's
normal
fox or something.
couple.
Yes, a normal, perfectly
Normal couple
doing a
exercising
perfectly
in the
normal
park.
run. Yeah, it's the first date. Not even the first date. You just met.
Yeah. It's like, let's go let's go lift weights together.
That feels
Lord.
creepy.
All right.
Okay, like when I first heard of this tracker thing, I mean, I have the app on my phone,
So do I. Yeah.
the SG.
Trace together.
Trace together. I have it as well.
Yeah, and
So I thought.
but when I first heard of this tracker thing,
Mhm.
I mean, a normal reaction was like, oh, that feels creepy. That
Right,
doesn't
yeah,
feel-
yeah. Because I think wearable technology has always been coded as this is the mark of the beast in Revelations.
yeah. But like,
Have you
If
heard
you're
that
on
from, like,
probation,
yeah.
they have the ankle thing, right?
Ankle monitor, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
that's what
I
people
thought
refer
it was
to this
gonna
as.
be like an ankle monitor.
But the point of an ankle monitor is you can't take it off though, and presumably you can take this off. Presumably it's not like a symbiote.
It's not the
and
the
like,
Battle Royale necklace.
Oh
And
yeah,
like-
the
You
exploding.
can't take it off your head.
and like we use Facebook, we use Google Maps. All these things track us anyway.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
So-
pretty sure that someone could take the information from my browser and craft like 100% accurate picture of who I am based on
Yeah.
all the things that I search for, which is mostly toys.
You know,
I still get emails from Google every month being like, here's where you went the last month.
Yeah,
It just
that's
gives
right.
me locations of the
And then
places I've
YouTube,
been.
like in between the videos, it will show you ads, and not video ads, but like just like a bar of ads, and then it's suspiciously all the same action figures I was looking up just now.
yeah, all the makeup that I was like looking at on the Sephora website, it would be exactly the
The same,
ones that
yeah.
you see on YouTube.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not like we really.
Oh, have you ever had that thing where you're having like a conversation with your friend about a highly specific topic, then you get recommended like a
Yeah.
movie or
Yeah.
a product related to that topic?
I
Yeah.
don't think I've had that, but I've seen like there's a conspiracy theory, right, that they're using the mics.
Like
What are we gonna get recommended?
I've
today,
heard
guys?
people talking about this multiple times of this happening to them.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't think
really.
it's happened to me.
Okay, I'm gonna speak something into existence. Ruffles sour cream cheddar chips.
Yeah, the video that I
Let's
saw.
see if I get anything
Ruffles
related to that
yeah,
later.
let's
Okay.
see.
I mean, like
Any of us.
I never remember the conversations I've had to remember to like.
Drake has failed step one.
Elon Musk will take
But yeah, I remember seeing a video where a guy was like, let's do an experiment. I don't have a cat. I'm gonna talk about cat food all day in front of my phone and see if I get recommended ads for cat food. And he did. So, I don't know.
That was
Okay, but okay, we'll talk about this token thing.
Yeah,
But
it's a
anyway,
trace-
like it's like
they should call it the tracelet.
the tracelet.
The tracelet.
Actually, they could like partner with TikTok to get that kind of
Influencers to like,
no, like cause apparently TikTok is just like really they will figure out what kind of apps you're using on your phone, how long you use the app, and they can track like
Oh yeah,
sorts
TikTok
of
is like the
different stuff.
worst when it
Surveilling,
comes to
yeah,
data
when it
and
comes to surveillance.
yeah.
They can just make everyone in Singapore go on TikTok and
And then that will double
That will
up
work.
as trace together.
yeah, they'll have like a viral trend, and then Lee Hsien Loong will be on TikTok, and everybody has to sign up to go see him.
Oh, this
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's
It's an
a
exclusive.
perfect. That's the perfect idea, right?
Don't give them any ideas.
Okay.
But like, okay, like for anyone who is like confused about the token thing, from what I've read so far, it's just like a Bluetooth kind of a thing that you turn it on and then you carry it with you, and it will connect to the people who are near you, who you come in close contact with, and if just kind of stores that information, and if let's say somebody who gets COVID-19 and they pass that token to them, they will use that token and get the information of the people they'll have the data of the devices that have come in contact with them.
So it is a tool for contact tracing.
Yes, it's not really like tracing your
Surveillance.
location.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like sharing. Like my impression of it is like 10 years ago when you want to send a song to a friend and use the
or like
Bluetooth thing.
Tamagotchi.
Yeah. It feels like that. Yeah, it feels like that.
Tamagotchi.
They should market as that.
Tamagotchi.
Oh
Yeah,
my
this
God,
should
yeah,
be a little
like
pet
if
that you
they-
keep alive.
If they gave me a 7G Tamagotchi set as like my Bluetooth tracker, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind, honestly.
And then that's
Yeah,
the-
this is
the
how we're gonna get
incentive
enslaved.
is to keep the thing alive. Yeah. Now this is Meow Meow Beans from Community.
Oh my god.
I rate you 3 out of 5 Meow Meow Beans.
That was like the Black Mirror of the
It was a year before that Black Mirror episode, before Nosedive.
yeah.
Isn't that nuts? Yeah.
Community is way ahead of curve.
Mhm.
Anyway.
What's the next thing after this?
It's the virtual signaling.
Right, yeah.
the
I
woke
feel like
points.
we've kind of said what we need to say about that earlier on, in that
Mhm.
if you hear people use woke in quotation marks, or
Yeah.
if you hear people say enjoy your identity politics or things like that,
Just ignore them.
yeah, these are all, these are bad faith arguments.
Yeah, they're not sincerely engaging in the topic at hand, you know? They're
Yeah.
just kind of reacting to it and then yelling at everyone.
And it's a slippery slope that leads to, eventually, and I'm not saying that this is where everyone who says that is, but eventually at the end of that whole is that guy we talked about earlier, because it's the same kind of language he uses.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware of that.
Yeah, just don't be woke however you want. Just be woke. It's fine.
Yeah,
Don't
be
be
woke.
afraid to
Educate
be
yourselves. Normalize changing your opinions once you learn new information.
Yep, normalize listening.
Orange is the new black and woke is the new normal, guys. It's fine.
Yeah,
embrace
and
your SJW.
It's
That's
not a
what-
contest, right? It's not a
Yeah.
contest to see who can be woker than the other person. But
Mhm.
ultimately, the end goal is that we be less shitty to each other
Yeah,
Mhm.
and create a less shitty society. And I don't know why that's controversial.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what being woke is. It's like, my friend Faith, she has this great analogy. It's what she said was, it's like it's raining outside and then the pavement is full of snails and you accidentally snap on a snail and you feel bad about it. So the
Mhm.
difference is that the anti-SJWs are, I'm going to step on every snail.
Because I've stepped on a snail before, and I will be a hypocrite if I don't step on all of them.
And if I don't step on more snails, I would have to admit that stepping on that
The
snail
snail
was
was
a bad
wrong.
thing. So I'm gonna do it more, so it negates everything, and everyone should just step on snails every time.
Step
This is
on
a fucking
snails.
good analogy.
Step on snails. It is. Thanks, Faith. Yeah, I wanted to give Faith a shout out for that. But yeah, so that's kind of where there is, and like I put that in the brief, but I realized that we ended up touching on this a lot in some of the earlier stories, especially in the idea of Singapore is not a one-to-one with America, which is the preamble that you hear for a lot of these arguments against wokeness or against
Yeah.
performative wokeness.
But
It's
you
like,
can be
yeah.
woke about things in Singapore too. It's fine.
Yeah, and you can identify patterns elsewhere and see how they correlate to patterns here. because
Yeah.
it's not one-to-one, but there are patterns.
That's how analytical frameworks work, guys.
Hooray! We learned something today.
Yeah. And the last point we have is actually influencers having photo shoots during protests. But, I feel like the entire internet has talked about it. You
Yeah.
know,
You can go
every
look at it, and
commentary
it looks so ridiculous.
I love it.
I love
I'm I'm totally ahead of my time. Like,
Yeah, there was a video
I think
where I think it was a
years
Russian influencer, and she's
Mhm.
wearing like this black dress. And then you hear someone in the
God.
video go, "Oh, look at her!" Is it no?
I remember back then, we all had to kind of write a fake script for the news, and I wrote a script about a studio that makes like backdrops so that influencers can pretend that they're at different things, like a different country, a different event.
This is so.
Oh my god, that's genius.
Yeah, that was a script I wrote for that news.
Do you remember like
assignment.
some of the other pictures from your classmates?
Oh my god, no. Yeah, I do, but
don't wanna say
do
it?
I want to expose them?
I don't remember
I do want to
any.
expose.
I don't remember
I do
mine.
want to expose. Okay, I don't know. I don't remember yours. I don't think we're on the same page. But I do remember. I cannot say their name, but I want to say
don't
their
say
name.
the name. Just
I
say
cannot.
the pitch.
Okay, the pitch. One of them was the funny one was, this one was good. I thought it was funny. This woman really wants an SG50 baby, but her baby comes out early, so she tells the doctor to put it back.
That's dark. It's so dark, but I also love it. I can imagine Julie Tan playing this character. Just like Julie
And our
Tan
teacher
in
hated
very
it. She was
wild
like, "Do you not know how babies?"
But it's satire!
Yeah, that's why it's funny.
Exactly! Like, the news is not supposed to be realistic.
No, the point is that. But the funniest thing is that no, she didn't know that this was how, like, you couldn't
Can't
do that.
put
That
the
was,
baby
like,
back?
physically- Yeah, you could not
She
put the
didn't
baby
know
back.
that
She did not
Oh.
know.
Okay, I take
I'm
everything
gonna tell you
back.
who this is later. Okay, the outrageous one was it's about sugar daddies in Singapore, sugar babying in Singapore.
Yeah, I got a
And-
sugar book ad the other day on my YouTube ad.
Oh,
Yeah, don't know why.
career options.
I'm not sexy. Look at me.
You're somebody's type.
Yeah.
Thanks, Drake. Ooh.
So they specify, this person specifies in the script that it was this girl who was in a CHIG in a uniform,
Right.
and
In a girls' school uniform.
yeah, in a girl's school uniform, and she
Yeah.
climbs into this white van. And they interview the uncle inside the white van, and then the reason why she's sugar babying is because she wants tickets to a Taylor Swift concert.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, I kind of get it. Like, I could see why someone would find that funny.
The problem is that our teacher was from that girls' school.
Oh, so she took
Oh.
offense.
Yeah.
Wow, your
You
teacher
don't
sounds like
remember this?
they have
You
a lot of
don't remember
problems
this?
with the pictures that are specifically their own problem.
Mhm. Yeah, but the
that's
whole
what
idea
school
was
is
that
like,
she was
man.
like a teenage girl. She was like, I
The
don't know,
teacher
it
was
was
a
kind of
teenage girl?
gross. No, the character.
Oh, okay. No, but I
She
mean,
was-
the SG50 one is funny because it's like, if you have an SG50 baby, you get incentives.
Yeah.
You get free
yeah,
stuff.
That's why.
Yeah. And so it's sort of a manifestation of Gyasuism that breaks the laws of reproduction in the name of Gyasuism.
Biology.
Yeah, Gyasuism trumps biology, and I love that so much.
I like it.
It's
I
beautiful.
love that too.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
it was hilarious.
hmm
But
So that's the only two pictures I remember.
your pitch sounds great though. The idea of like different backgrounds, so you never have to leave home, and that's a reality that we are in now with Zoom. It came true. It's Black Mirror.
Prescient. Oh, by the way, my FYP is really quite about that also. So, when we do post it, I'll be plugging it on this podcast, which no one listens to.
No, but you have every right to.
Yeah. So, when that happens, I'll let you guys know.
Hooray.
So I think we're at the end of our points today.
We are. Yeah, we had this. This is an hour and a half more than that.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yay.
We had things to talk about, and we learned a lot and we talked about really serious things, but I think we also had fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what every episode should be like.
And I'm gonna have to edit this and bleep out a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Jet, have you finished the last Airbender yet?
No, I'm still watching book 1. So I just finished the episode with the freedom fighter terrorist guy who wanted to flood the Fire Nation village.
Okay.
That's how early in I am. Yeah.
Can we have one episode where we talk about this?
When you just
Yeah, you guys can go talk about Airbender.
No, Kim, go and watch it.
Because like
It's
I've never
okay.
sat down to watch it, and I watched the movie.
Oh god.
Yeah, so watching this like, oh, I remember this from the movie. But also my ambition in life is to be Appa. I want to be the flying bison. I like him so much.
But
I
anyway,
am watching a lot of videos on how to become a stripper. Anyway.
Should we be
so
concerned? No. I am not going to cast aspersions on sex work.
I'm gonna end the episode
progressive
here
of me,
before
yes.
Jet digs
wait, did you
another
learn
hole
anything
for
good?
himself.
Before Drake takes the whole...
You've got to be a very good, very shrewd businessman, apparently.
Yeah,
So-
did you ever see
It's
Hustlers?
no, I wanted to.
No,
but-
I have not.
Yeah. It's not bad, but it's also it also feels very Hollywoodized. Like it definitely feels like a Hollywoodified version of the true story, but it's also pretty good. It's a solid 7 out of 10.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah, because that's a
Interesting.
wild true story.
I mean, if I was hot enough to be a stripper, I would.
Yeah. I
You
know
are
it's very physically demanding. Like the pole dancing is like I
Yeah.
know people just get like freaking solid abs after they do it for a few months.
It's hard.
Six
It's hard.
pack,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, there's a reason why like it's a fitness thing that people do.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at my friends who do aerial stuff and who like hang from
Oh,
houses
that's so
on the ceiling.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Okay.
I cannot. I'm fat.
I'm gonna end this episode here
Yes.
before we all
Oh, we're
dig off
still recording.
to self-deprecating holes. So goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Hope you
Hashtag
guys
self-deprecating holes.
Bye.
Stay safe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
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 Bye.
Bye bye.